All right, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are. We actually have a tornado warning here right now, located near Burgaw, South or North Carolina, rather. This is just north of Wilmington. And give me just a minute here to make sure that everything is live and working. North of Wilmington. It is. That might be the first time this has happened. So good evening, everybody. There is a tornado warning in effect here. This tornado warning goes for just about another 10 minutes or so. It's for Pender County in southeastern North Carolina until 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Severe thunderstorm that's capable of producing a tornado is near Burgaw, moving northeast at 15 miles per hour. Nothing is confirmed at this time. Let me make sure that we are on the closest radar site, which we are not. We might be. We're using Radar Omega here. Let me make sure we are looking at this in the best way possible. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at velocity right now. You can see our pink box right here. That's our tornado warning. And it looks like right here would be the area of concern, although I am not seeing much in the way of rotation on that storm. Let's switch to the Wilmington radar here. and look at the single site velocity. Yeah, there's some intense winds right here, but we're not seeing any of that spinning or that rotating motion here. Let's see if we can see that, where that would have been. I think they're warning it for this area that's popping up right there. It looks like that rotation is not very prominent anymore. We're going to go ahead and dual pane view this. We can do this with Radar Omega. So we're splitting the screen in half. On the left side is reflectivity, and on the right side is velocity. And if we go ahead and loop this over the past several minutes, we can see that we don't have anything too terribly concerning, at least that I can see. But anybody that's just to the northeast of Burgaw, towards Shelter Neck, White Stocking, even up into the Maple Hill area, northwest of the Sandy Run, Savannah State and Natural area, should be prepared and, of course, taking cover, because this tornado warning is in effect for another 10 minutes or so. And good evening, everybody, for joining us. Let's see here. Just let me take a peek at the chat here. All right, so I was actually going to be talking about a possible storm chase tomorrow, and we're going to be looking at a very strong fall cold front. But first, we need to allow this tornado warning to expire. So Radar Omega here is indicating that we've got a tornado warning in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just a ton of flash flood warnings. So let me break away from the tornado warning for just a minute here. We've got several other areas of concern here, but nothing as concerning as that at the moment. We've got this area of precipitation down there in the south. We've also got a broken line of showers and storms from Toledo all the way down to the Birmingham area. That's pushing off to the east northeast. And then, of course, we've got our potential flood maker. Haven't seen any flash flood warnings out of this for a while. But that system right here across parts of Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan is of a little bit of concern, because we could see some flash flooding out of that later on, although we haven't for some time. Let's go ahead and go back to that tornado warned area. Hopefully we don't have anybody in the area there that is being affected by that. But tornado warning there until 6:15, and they did update that 6:05 p.m. local time, which would be just about 2 minutes ago. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located over Murraytown near Burgaw, moving northeast at 15. The dangerous storm will be near Maple Hill around 6:30. How fast is this thing moving? We can actually break this down a little bit better. It's moving at 15. We actually have a tool for this. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and calculate a storm track for this. So the Radar Omega indicated storm is indicating, let's see here, Shaken in 17 minutes and Maple Hill in 34 minutes. So we can see Shaken is right there and Maple Hill is there. So this is a pretty rural area. This is going to go right up Highway 53, it looks like, which extends right here from Shelter Neck and Six Forks all the way up there toward Angola. Anybody along 53 there is impacted by this tornado warning, but again, no tornado effect here. And for reference, we'll zoom out a bit. This is in coastal North Carolina. Nothing too terrible concerning, but no tornado on the ground right now. In fact, the rotation is fairly weak, if not even non-existent. But the National Weather Service is continuing this tornado warning for good reason here, just in case it does re-intensify. But Burgaw, you have been removed from the tornado warning. This tornado warning box has been trimmed. It does still include this small area of I-40, but for the most part, it has excluded that area there of Burgaw. So I'm comfortable with leaving that for a minute. So welcome everybody. I see a lot of people in the chat. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We are live. I want to do about an hour-long live stream tonight just to test out some of this equipment I got in here. And we're going to go from there. All right, so we've got a couple of people in the chat, and I just lost the chat on there for some reason, so I need to figure out why that is doing that here. Hang on. Well, we'll see if that opens back up while I try to renegotiate here what the next topic is. I'm gonna take a peek at radar. Hopefully the chat will. There it is. The chat's starting to repopulate there for us. So thank you for joining us again, folks. YouTube members, YouTube subscribers, and new viewers are all welcome. Just taking a peek at radar here, trying to get a couple of scenes set up. And then we're going to break away here and take a peek at a special marine warning that's near Chicago. But hopefully you're all doing well. This is our first actual planned live stream here from in the new studio. Let's go ahead and let's go back to the Chicago Romeoville radar site. I've circled in purple here an area that's actually producing some water spouts, possibly down here as well. There's been special this part of Lake Michigan for a while now. They're not populating on the map. I believe I have them disabled, but let's take a look at velocity. Now, water spouts we can't really detect with radar very well, but bam, I would bet you that there's possibly a water spout threat right here. This is just off the east coast into Lake Michigan, just off of North Chicago, east of Zion, southeast of Kenosha. We've got this area here of tightening winds right here. Green and red next together, that is possibly a little bit of rotation there. So that could be a water spout producing area. You can see that's been pretty predominant there. It's intensifying over the past couple of frames. So there is a water spout threat there off of the coast in the western half of Lake Michigan. Looking at the reflectivity, that does coincide with a little bit of a hook type appendage or an inflow type looking appendage right there. So I would expect there definitely is some water spout potential with that still. But look at this area of heavy rain just offshore into Lake Michigan. Probably wouldn't be surprised if that's an inch or two per hour there. Let's see if we can look at the storm 1 hour precip totals and go ahead and inspect this with the inspector tool. Yeah, that's 1.5 inch per hour rainfall rates in the middle of that storm. So I'm going to go ahead and switch that back to reflectivity. And that does coincide right there, that big red blob basically. So that does indicate that that is dumping a ton of rain. Obviously, it's over the lake, so you can't really flood the lake. But if we go ahead and look at the rest of the picture here, we've got a large shield of rain pretty much centered right over southeast Wisconsin between Janesville right there and Milwaukee right there. And this has been pivoting in a large counterclockwise motion. It's a low pressure center. It is pivoting and moving just ever so slowly off to the northeast, but it's going to be a while before this is well out of here. Let's go ahead and switch this back to the MRMS viewer real quick. And let's get a look at the entire picture here. As you can see, showing that big area of rain. No flash flood warnings right now in effect for southeast Wisconsin. Nothing has reached flash flood criteria. It's been a heavy rain, but it's been kind of on the lower end of things. It's been just basically just enough to keep everything so that the runoff isn't becoming a flood, which is of course good news here. So let's go ahead and take one more peek at that tornado warning. It's been dropped, so no more tornado warnings. In fact, our tornado warning was down here with this cluster of 3 cells in North Carolina. And to give you a reference, we are talking about these storms between Wilmington and Jacksonville, North Carolina on the coast. You can see we've got some lightning associated with this storm here near Richards and Petersburg, near the Hoffman Forest. This was our tornado warned storm here just to the northeast of Burgaw. It's now ejecting off to the northeast. We've got a new storm forming here just north of Holly Ridge, about to cross Highway 17. So let's take a peek at these storms as well. These things have been intensifying a little bit over the past couple of scans. We can see some radar or some lightning being depicted here on the radar screen. Now, just a couple of bolts here and here, but typically lightning, cloud to ground strikes will indicate a somewhat healthy storm or a strengthening storm. And I wouldn't necessarily call these supercell storms, but they are single cell and they do seem to be trying to strengthen a little bit. So I wouldn't write those off. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of special weather statements with them. Some stray showers and thunderstorms off here near Fayetteville, and nothing too dangerous or threatening with them. So now that our tornado warning has expired, Thanks for joining me, everybody. I am looking at the chat. Somebody asked about Milwaukee. Milwaukee is going to be getting just a ton of rain here for a while. For a reference point, we're right there in the middle of the map. And if we look at the past 45 minutes or so, you can see that some of these heavier rain bands are actually moving up into the Milwaukee area. So we'll see, and I'll monitor that area. If there is a flash flood warning or anything like that issued, we'll definitely cover it. But no flash flooding threat really right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if that were to develop at any point in time here. I think our special marine warnings have been dropped as well. Nope, they're still there, but they're for Florida. Let's go ahead and cover these special marine warnings super quickly here, just for the sake of we're already doing it. We've got another area here of convection that's a little bit concerning. This is to the Jacksonville to Orlando, Florida areas here on the Atlantic coast. You can see right here, we've got an abundance of lightning here in the Radar Omega app with this purple box. Now that purple box indicated right here by my outline, that is a special marine warning issued by the National Weather Service in Jacksonville, Florida. And that special marine warning appears to be for the coastal waters from St. Augustine to Flagler Beach, out 20 miles into the ocean until 7:15 Eastern, which is 6:15 Central. So these are strong thunderstorms that are on a line from near Marineland to near Ormond by the sea, and they're moving northeast at only 15 knots. Wind gusts of 34 knots, which is roughly 40 miles per hour or greater, are possible while they move off there to the northeast. So we'll go ahead and put the past 45 minutes to an hour in motion here on the radar. And you can see that, wow, look at that. This band of storms develops just in the past 20 minutes. So right there it is, forming near Deltona and then filming in up there toward Palm Coast. So really rapidly developing line of strong showers there. Special weather statement in effect there as well for an area from Crescent Beach to near Ormond by the sea, and those are for 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts and excessive cloud-to-ground lightning. Now you're probably wondering what is excessive. Well, if we actually look at the radar picture here and see all these little lightning bolts, those are lightning strikes, cloud-to-ground lightning strikes in the past 5 minutes. So there has been an intense lightning barrage with this thunderstorm near Palm Coast and Bunnell, just north of this airport right there, it looks like. So definitely a strong weather situation there. Nothing terribly severe or anything. But if we go and take a trip just a little bit farther north off the coast of Georgia between Savannah and Brunswick, I'm talking right here, we've got another special marine warning. And I'll bet you this is also for gusty winds. Yep, this is for wind gusts of 35 knots or greater, so roughly 40 miles per hour. And you can see here we've got this line marching off to the east pretty slowly here, but a special marine warning. So any mariners or boaters that are out there, or of course people on the beach there, definitely want to be mindful of that. Behind that, we've also got an area of some light showers right here near Waycross and Jessup, and they're moving off to the east right behind that storm system. All right. Burgaw tornado warning. Parker, it's not in effect anymore. It is expired. And thanks, of course, for joining me here. Not many people watching today. It must be well, it is Sunday. I've got a flash flood warning I want to cover here real quick here in southern Kentucky. Find the closest radar site. I do believe it's going to be Knoxville. No precip there. There is a flash flood warning here. It has not been confirmed. It's for McCreary and Whitley counties in southern Kentucky. It's too bad we don't have a cyclone port camera there. There is a cyclone port camera in Jamestown with cloudy skies. We'll put that on screen for just a minute. So this is a live camera view there near Jamestown, Tennessee. That camera here is accessible on Radar Omega. It's located right there, and I'm not quite sure which direction it's looking, but our flash flood warning is nearby, but no precipitation falling right now. So thanks for, again, following along, folks. Let me take a peek. Let me go ahead and take a real quick look at the Storm Prediction Center here. I don't have these built into the scenes just yet. So you got to be a little patient with me here as I can't really update everything on the go. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Storm Prediction Center's website here. Hopefully that's big enough on the screen. We have a marginal risk area here tomorrow from North Carolina all the way up into parts of Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and then a marginal risk as well down here in southern and south central, well, actually central, just period, Arizona. So if you folks live in the dark green, you've got a potential at seeing a severe storm or two tomorrow. Now, here's what's interesting. We've actually got tornado potential here in the Baltimore and the Washington area. So actually, if we switch back to Radar Omega, we can probably look at this in a little bit more detail by turning on our severe weather outlooks for day 2, which apparently I have not set up properly yet for the stream. We are on a new computer, as many of you may know, so that does make a big difference. There we go. This green circle right here that I'm circling with the purple highlighter, that is our marginal risk for severe weather tomorrow. It's from Scranton, Pennsylvania, all the way down there to Fayetteville. Now, if we go ahead and switch this over to the tornado outlook, or the tornado potential, we've actually got a very small area there, and primarily in Maryland and Virginia, where we actually have a small chance at seeing a tornado. And this does include Washington right there, Washington, D.C. Very interesting. But regardless, areas like Winchester, Martinsburg, and Hagerstown off to the east to Baltimore, Annapolis, Washington, and Walden, you folks actually do have a small percentage at seeing a tornado tomorrow. There is a chance that we do go out there and chase this. If that happens, I'll be leaving at midnight. Kind of waiting on a little bit of input from the Storm Prediction Center. If they upgrade this area to a slight risk, I think we're going to go out there. But right now, it's looking like we're not. This tornado potential does look fairly low. I've seen some forecast soundings, which we'll look at in just a minute, that are a little bit convincing, but I don't really see a whole lot to be terribly concerned about for the time being. I want to go ahead and show you day 3. So this is going to be Tuesday. Tuesday has a marginal risk for severe weather. It encompasses the entire portion of Connecticut, much of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and a good portion of, well, Massachusetts, and of course the eastern half of Long Island, New York, but it does not include New York City. Probably not chasing this one. This is a really tough area to chase in, and I really don't think that we're going to see a multitude of or multiple severe storms out there. There's actually a potential in the day 4 through 8 that the Storm Prediction Center has notated. We could see some troughs dig into the plains, so it's possible we could get some localized and isolated severe weather events out in the plains or out in Tornado Alley. So I think we do want to keep an eye on that. That could be maybe like Tuesday night through Friday. So I'm really more interested in that and staying back for that. But if these areas get upgraded to slight or the tornado potential looks to increase a little bit, we're definitely going to go out there. Does it cross the Pennsylvania border? It doesn't really matter because it's so close to it, whether it does or doesn't. These outlooks are not precise. We're not at a point where we can forecast, that there's going to be a tornado to the north of the line or to the south. So if you're close to the outlook area, you can pretty much consider yourself in it. I appreciate the compliments on the setup, folks. Let's go ahead and put the chat on screen again. Thanks as well. I see a couple of folks in there using their member messages. So we've got quite a few YouTube members on here, which is awesome. If you're not a YouTube member, you definitely may want to consider it. You do get daily members only content on there, which is pretty cool. We're going to go ahead and do a little bit of an advertisement here for my website, of course. So if you go to seethestorm.com, we've got several items here we can pick from. You can actually shop our merchandise. Go ahead and buy photos, t-shirts, phone cases, anything you like here. on the website, we do have 6 products displayed here, but if you go down here to shop the entire store, you can actually go and view all the products. There's like 60 of them or whatever. We do have links for sponsorship opportunities. We're redoing the vehicle wrap. We also have a link where you can contribute and help support our live storm chasing efforts. You can become a YouTube member by clicking right here. Right here, this will actually download Radar Omega for you. Only works on iOS. I need to fix it for Android. Of course, the YouTube channel. You can contact us right here or join our Discord right there at the bottom. Let's go ahead and pull up the Weather Prediction Center's website here and go ahead and make the screen a little bit bigger for you folks again there. So if we look at today, we actually have a couple of slight risk areas from the Weather Prediction Center. Now these are areas for potential of excessive rainfall, which I do believe is 15% chance of flash flood guidance within 25 miles of a point. So there is that slight risk of, flash flood warnings here across portions of southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and southwest Michigan, as well as from the Delmarva into the mid-Atlantic coast there, and the Florida Big Bend right there. So those are our primary areas where we could see some flash flooding today. If you're seeing flash flooding, let us know in the chat. Or, of course, tweet us a picture. I'd love to see it. Chicago did have some flash flooding this morning. Luckily, that flash flood warning did expire. Tomorrow, we've got a potential for more flash flooding in similar areas today, southeast Wisconsin into northern lower Michigan tomorrow. Now, the reason that's not moving much is because the storm system that's over Wisconsin and Illinois, just dumping rainfall right now, is moving very, very slowly. It's not going to get out of here anytime soon. And then a slight risk for that excessive rainfall there over the Delmarva. Well, kind of the Delmarva, almost. It does include a bit of it, but into portions of Maryland up into Pennsylvania as well. That kind of coincides with that marginal risk for severe weather. If we go ahead and take a look at Tuesday, we now have a slight risk for some flash flooding there in parts of Nevada and Utah. Now, honestly, I was half tempted. Cost of the fact you have to weigh the cost versus risk analysis here. I was actually considering going out into parts of Nevada and Utah for desert flash flood chasing. I think you guys would really enjoy that, but instead we spent some money on the studio here. So unless it looks like we're going to get, mega flash flood out there, which probably isn't happening, we're not going to go out there because that's looking like a $1,500 round trip chase with the price of fuel. So instead, we've kind of been focusing on the studio here, which is also why we didn't go to California for Tropical Storm Kay. Now that we have the studio, I'm not going to be curtailing storm chasing, but I did have to take a couple of days off, so to speak, so that we could get this set up a little bit. The lighting behind me was a real pain to get done. We still have a little bit more lighting to fix. You can see we're missing some light here, but we do have the key lights on the side, doing a pretty good job. And I'll see if I can give you a little bit of a wider shot and show you the entire studio here in a little bit. But thank you, folks, the YouTube members, the super chatters. You guys really did make all this possible. It's going to allow me to produce content when we're not storm chasing, because obviously we can't chase storms every single day. As you saw just a little bit ago, we had that tornado warning in North Carolina. I wouldn't have been out there for that. So this gives us an avenue to cover that. And yeah, thanks for rejoining as a member. Will Vermont get severe weather? Probably not. It's possible, but I really don't think that Vermont's going to see any severe weather for a while. All right, folks. So we have about 150 of you folks watching. Michelle asks if we'll see any severe weather in Minnesota anytime soon. I don't really think so, Michelle. Nothing. Well, I shouldn't. I should take that back. There is mention in the, and I'll look that up right now for you. There is mention in the day 4 through 8 outlook from the Storm Prediction Center about potential troughs digging in and modifying, basically air mass modification. But we don't think that there's going to be enough moisture in the area. So I'm talking Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, South Dakota, Minnesota, maybe even North Dakota. I just don't think we're going to have enough moisture for severe weather, but it's possible. But right now, there is really no immediate threat or any severe weather planned for that area for now. I'm going to go ahead. I see lots of folks asking about states. Like I said, if you're not in those areas I mentioned about 2-3 minutes ago, then really no, there's not severe weather expected for the next couple of days. So I'm going to go ahead and look at a couple of models here, and I'll probably be able to answer those questions here. You can see here, this is the Pivotal Weather website, and I'm going to basically explain what's going on here. We've got a, oh, what is this? So let's actually use the GFS. Yeah, and I see lots of mentions about the temperatures. Well, we're gonna dig right into that here. Here's the GFS model running through temperatures for, this is surface temperatures for the next many hours, jumping ahead in 3 hour increments. Now we're here on Monday afternoon. We've got 90s in the Central Plains. Tuesday afternoon, 90s again in the Central Plains. Look at that. Oh, sorry, you guys are on the wrong screen. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, we'll start that over. I thought I hit the button. Somebody needs to buy me a stream deck. We've got 90s in the Central Plains there, right there. Boom on Monday afternoon. Dips back down into the upper 50s, and then Tuesday afternoon back into the 90s. What about Wednesday afternoon? Yep, back into the 90s. Thursday, 90s. Friday, still 90s on Friday. Widespread 90-degree temperatures. What about Saturday? Way up into 101 in Kansas. Still 90s on Monday. Guys, it's going to be hot. It's going to be really hot in the Central Plains. I'm talking from Nebraska to Texas, even up here into the Dakotas, Iowa in some areas. Now, these are just models. They are subject to change, but look at this, 101, 103 degrees, 106, 107 in Oklahoma. We're talking about a scorching heat wave again here, a dry heat wave into all the way through early next week. And we're talking this could start as early as, I'd say, tomorrow. So this cold front gets out of here, and then we get widespread upper 80-degree temperatures here from Canada all the way down to Mexico. So we've got an intense heat wave coming in once again. That's been the story quite a bit this year. So we're definitely not over the heat waves. You can see we've got this. Let's see here. Go ahead and play this back a couple of frames. You can see right here the temperature gradient from cooler to warmer right down there in the mid-Atlantic all the way down to the Louisiana, Arkansas border. We step forward a bit. That is that front cold fall front pushing through that's brought really cool temperatures today. Now tomorrow by noon, we've got, like I said, 80-degree temperatures. We've even got 80, 85, and almost 90 degrees up here onto the Atlantic coast. We've got a very large area of warm temperatures, and then this large bulbous area of cold temperatures here over the Great Lakes. That's some of that fall weather that's hanging around, but that's going to get out of here pretty quickly. Watch right here as that low pressure center with that attached front gets the hell out of here. It's going to take with it those cooler temperatures into the northeast, but it's not going to last very long as we play this ahead. We're now at Wednesday afternoon with widespread 90s all the way across the southern tier of the United States, up into the southeast and into the Atlantic coast, as well as hot temperatures here, low 100s being realized by this model, all the way up into Canada there almost. Wisconsin is going to be cool a little bit, as well as parts of Michigan, because some of that fall air is still hanging on there. But trust me, by Thursday, that changes. Here we are around 3 p.m. with 80s into Wisconsin. We've got 90s starting to cool down a little bit on the northwest side of this, but widespread mid 80s to mid 90s. And if we play the GFS model out, those white temperatures are those scorching hot temps. Now we're all the way a week from Monday, and it's still realizing just a scorching scenario here with these 100-degree temperatures in Oklahoma. I mean, that's just devastating heat for that area. Now, if we go ahead now, once again, now we're way out. We are at like our 200. This is 225 hours out. This is definitely subject to change. But one thing with models is I trust the temperatures more than a lot of the other aspects. But this is sending some really interesting signals here. 110 degrees at the surface here in Oklahoma City and up into Tulsa. That's ridiculous. That's on Tuesday the 20th. So that's several days away. That's 9 to 10 days away from here. It's almost 2 weeks away. Subject to change. Could be a lot cooler. Could be warmer. I don't know. This is just one model solution. No need to panic. But this is just sending basically a strong signal that we are not out of the woods for these intense heat waves, even though we are now in meteorological fall, which started back on September 1st. So definitely not a good sign to see. I want to go ahead and show the dew point here on the GFS. Now this is moisture content in the atmosphere, basically how humid it is. And I want to show you what I'm talking about here. Now the problem we're going to be missing for severe weather over the next several days here in the plains. When I'm saying plains, anyone that's not familiar, I'm talking about this area right here. So if we draw a line from eastern Montana all the way down eastern Colorado, eastern New Mexico, into parts of Texas, and then all the way straight north there, including parts of Iowa, some parts of southern Minnesota, and then up into the Dakotas. We're not going to see that moisture, and we need moisture for severe weather. Well, where is it? Well, it's down here in the Florida Peninsula, South Texas, in the mid-Atlantic tomorrow, where we could see some severe weather. Look at that 70-degree dew points up here in the Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts area on Tuesday, where we could see that severe weather. We do have some moisture being drawn in from the Gulf, being sucked up into the high plains here, the higher elevation, and then drawn and deposited back there in parts of South Dakota. But I don't think that's going to be enough for severe weather. Now, we do have a plume of mid 60s dew points up here being forecasted for Thursday. But man, I just don't know if we're going to see much out of that still. But this could be sufficient. Let's go ahead and let's see. That's for Thursday into Friday. We have sufficient moisture. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 500 millibar winds here. And I'm going to break this down and make this as easy to understand as possible without getting too boring with the details here. But basically, we're looking at the upper levels of the winds. So now I need to wait for this progress bar to load out here real quick. We'll give this just a minute. All right, so if we go out, see if we see anything interesting. I do. This is not. Come on, Pivotal. You should just be doing this in Radar Omega. This is not. Pivotal is not loading here properly. We might need to start using COD. This is just embarrassing. Come on, Pivotal. Not my browser either. There we go. Thursday, we do have some intense, I shouldn't say intense, they're 50 knot. We have some 50 knot 500 millibar winds. We go ahead and move through. Those eject off in northern Wisconsin there Thursday morning. Not really anything interesting going on in the 500s. High pressure ridge here over the Four Corners, causing that jet stream, or that 500 millibar strong winds to go up and around that ridge of high pressure, which is centered right there. I do want to look at the 700 millibar winds. I'm just trying to see if any of these severe weather ingredients coincide with any of that moisture. There's some composite indices we'll look at in a minute here too. But I do want to take a peek at this. So these are winds that are, well, they're between the surface and 500 millibars. When we say millibars, it's not a measure of height, it's a measure of pressure. So this is basically forecasting the wind speed direction at whatever height above ground 700 millibars is. The pressure and height can be dynamic and fluid. We'll talk about that in another video, but just so everybody knows and isn't confused, 700 millibars, the height can vary a little bit based on terrain. I'm not trying to confuse anybody, but these are basically the winds, maybe a kilometer or two up in the atmosphere. So this is Wednesday morning. Now we're scooting through to Thursday, and actually we do have some basically low-level jet winds here. These 700 millibar winds are at about 50 knots across portions of Nebraska and South Dakota. We could squeeze maybe some severe potential out of this. Let's go down to the 850 winds. Now, the 850 millibar winds are not a be-all and end-all, but typically when we look at severe weather, we do need some stronger and some veered or some shearing 850 winds. Now, if Pivotal will ever load here for me, this is why I don't pay for premium Pivotal weather anymore. We do have some 850s coinciding with that area where I was saying that we were going to have hot temperatures return right there into the portions of Nebraska into the eastern Dakotas. So I am going to keep an eye on this. Now let's go ahead, and this is just one model again, folks, but let's go ahead and take a look at severe weather. Can we see supercell composite? So this is a composite that basically gives us a score, and this score is from, I think, like 1 to 46 or something, 1 to 50. Basically, the higher the number, the more likely it is, or the more primed the atmosphere is to support supercells, which is typically severe weather. Now, this is a composite indice by a computer model, so this isn't the be-all and end-all. But this is a good way to look at real quickly what severe weather, basically to say, do severe weather ingredients overlay in a certain area or not? And right now, we're paging through. We're already a week from Monday, and I'm really not seeing anything. We do have some small values here hinting here, but again, probably limited by moisture return. If we go out and take a sounding here, yeah, the dew points are pretty low. There's a pretty high temp dew point spread as well. So I don't think we're going to really see much for severe weather anywhere for a while now. In fact, we aren't even really seeing the potential of any tropical activity, which we're going to look at here in a minute. Let's go ahead and look at tomorrow, and then we'll jump over to the tropics. But we're going to look at our good friend of the HRRR. Take this with a grain of salt, please. This is just a computer model. I have to add that disclaimer because otherwise people literally spaz out because they see a storm forecast for them. So this is future reflectivity. This is showing just what this model thinks the radar will look like at a certain time. Now this is tomorrow. No, it's not. This is tonight at about 7 p.m. You can see some scattered storms in these areas. Now, if we go ahead and page this model ahead, we're more interested in looking at tomorrow around 10 a.m. You can see we've got some convection happening here. It looks like in West Virginia. Now, that convection is going to continue into portions of this. That's not a panhandle region, but into Maryland there, into portions of Northern Virginia, Northeast West Virginia, Western Maryland. It is showing as well into about 5 p.m. some mature supercells going into the Washington, D.C. area, as well as a couple cells down here in Virginia. Scattered storms up here in Pennsylvania and New York. And then again, some stronger storms congealing and moving off into the Delaware and New Jersey areas just after dark. So I am going to keep an eye on that, but right now I'm not thinking much of a storm chase. Let's go ahead and look at the Four Corners region where there's also a marginal risk for severe weather tomorrow. Now, folks, there's a lot of other parameters flying here. There's a lot of other parameters we can look at in terms of severe weather. We're just for the sake of time and the sake of simplicity, we're only looking at this future reflectivity again, just because it's real quick and easy for everybody to understand. I have looked at the models a little bit and some of the details beforehand here, and I haven't noticed anything specific to pick out. So if we go ahead and page this model through, now keep an eye down there in Arizona where that marginal risk is for severe weather tomorrow. If we get into the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 p.m. hour, we do have some isolated cells here. So that could possibly bring maybe some flooding tomorrow, some heavy rainfall, maybe a severe storm or two, but I'm just not seeing a whole lot. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to pull up the National Hurricane Center website as well here. New York gets severe weather or no? No, like I said earlier, there is that portion of Long Island that could see severe weather on Tuesday, but right now it's not looking like New York is going to see a whole lot for severe weather. But thank you for joining me. I think we are competing with probably football or NASCAR or something here. I don't watch either of those, so bear with me here. Real low viewer count today. All right, so I'm not seeing anything in the Atlantic. Actually, we do have something in the Pacific, Eastern Pacific now, believe it or not. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Right there, we've got a disturbance in the Eastern Pacific right there off southern Mexico. Right there, it's got a 60% chance of cyclone formation in the next 5 days. I don't know what to think of that. Let's go ahead and take a look at a model or two. I didn't even notice this before. We'll actually look at the model, maybe just do one run of the GFS and see if it takes this thing out to sea or if it runs it up a similar path to K there or not. So let's go ahead and bounce back. I just want to, like I said, run through the model one more time and go ahead and try to focus it on that area if we can. I just want to see where the GFS wants to put this area of possible development. I'll go ahead here and watch down at the bottom of the screen. Goodness, this is freezing up again. Not a pivotal weather fan. Trying to see where it develops that. I think it's right here, this 998 low develops it by Thursday. You can see it right down there. This is the southern portion of Mexico. And it looks like, ooh, okay. It's going to take it along a similar track to K, but it takes it farther west and out into the eastern Pacific, into the EPAC here, just once it hits the southern tip of the Baja California as maybe a tropical storm, and then gets it out of frame here by Tuesday and maybe develops something else here down there Tuesday afternoon, possibly. So that's very interesting. So this area could develop something that's not going to be a threat to the United States, though. We have one area in the Atlantic that's got a 20% chance of cyclone formation. It's low, though, 20% in the next 5 days. It's a tropical wave, and it's forecast to actually move off the west coast of Africa tomorrow on Monday. And if this wave develops, it'll be slow to occur as it moves off to the west northwest. But it's possible that we could see something out of it, but I'm not really expecting anything. Of course, Central Pacific is dead as well. So not much is happening in terms of the tropics right now, which is not entirely surprising. All right, folks, here is a big look here at Radar Omega, still showing that area of precipitation there in southern Wisconsin. I'm just kind of looking at the chat here real quick. See what we got going on here elsewhere. Let's go ahead and cover these flash flood warnings. Okay, so we have flash flood warnings here in Southern California, near from Riverside all the way down there to Mexicali, just over the border. These green boxes here, especially these ones near Joshua Tree National Park, these are flash flood warnings. Just to give you a reference, for Southern California, this is the Salton Sea. These blue boxes are special weather statements there on the east side of Los Angeles. Let's cover this flash flood or special weather statements. I hope I didn't say severe thunderstorm warning. If I did, I didn't mean it. This flash flood warning here down there just south of Interstate 8. Let's go ahead and play this back. This flash flood warning looks like it's associated with this strong cell that's now over the border into Mexico. This area has received quite a bit of rain over the past several days. And this flash flood warning is in effect for about another hour and a half. And the San Diego Weather Service has issued it for Doppler radar, indicating between almost an inch and a quarter of rain, with another 3/4 to an inch and a quarter of rain falling. Excessive rain over the burn scar. So there's a burn scar in that area from wildfire, will likely result in debris flow that'll move through the valley burn scar and the border 32 fire. That debris flow can consist of rock, mud, vegetation, and loose materials. So they are concerned about burn scar flooding. So what will happen in this area here? We'll get these. Basically, we'll get these areas where everything's been burnt. You know, obviously from wildfire. We call that a burn scar. So there's a lot of debris. There's not a lot of vegetation to control the erosion, and all this runoff will take debris and everything down the burn scars wherever the river is, wherever the watershed wants to flow it to. But that will basically create a very dangerous flash flood, because not only is there water, but there's a lot of debris in it. So burn scar flooding there is a concern there south of Interstate 8. Severe thunderstorm warning now just got issued for areas just southeast of Riverside, or southwest of Riverside. So Corona, California, you now have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. This just got this for nickel-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. It's for San Bernardino County, Riverside County, and Orange County until 4:30 p.m. That's Pacific time. Pacific time. So that'll be 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time. And at 3:46 p.m., of course, Pacific Time, that storm was located near Matthews, which is 7 miles east of Corona, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and of course, nickel-sized hail. I'm going to go ahead and loop this into motion. You can see it just exited that special weather statement near Menifee. This is just south of Riverside, centered over Corona. So if you live in Corona, California, you should be prepared for strong winds and maybe small hail. This is going to affect areas of Interstate 15, Highway 91, Interstate 15. They're going north and south. So lots of motorists probably at the moment. Uh, I would definitely be a little bit weary of this. This is actually moving off to the west, which is interesting. But this is going into a populated area. So there could be some traffic congestion problems from that as well. These flash flood warnings here over the Joshua Tree National Park are in effect for several hours. They're for Riverside and San Bernardino counties. They're saying that Doppler radar is indicating thunderstorms that have produced heavy rainfall over the warned area. An inch and a half of rain have fallen, and more rainfall amounts of up to a half an inch are expected shortly. Let's go ahead and look at the higher resolution radar for this. We have a radar site right here in Corona. What? We got to go up a tilt. That can't be right. So we've got this small storm here near Corona. Now look at that tiny little thing. But that storm is warned for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust, quarter size hail. It's pretty close to the radar site, so the radar is not getting a very good view of it. It looks like we've got some incomplete radar data there, possibly. Some lightning associated with that storm as well. So let's see here. It's definitely nothing to be awfully concerned about. We've also got some cells here north of Santa Barbara. Not severe at this time. So smooth sailing for the most part with all that. I wouldn't be too terrible concerned. But like I said, 60-mile-per-hour winds going into a heavily populated area can wreak havoc. Looks like a severe thunderstorm warning here just east of Santa Fe, one southwest, and one in north central Arizona as well. But still, no flash flood warnings in this area where I kind of thought we would see one by now. All right, let's go ahead and go back to the chat. Let me bring this chat right in front of my face here. We're probably going to wrap it up here real quick, folks. I don't have a whole lot of time. I want to get home just in case we end up storm chasing. But for the most part, it's going to be a relatively uneventful afternoon into the evening, I think. In terms of weather, that could change though. Like I said, we did highlight a few areas where we could see some flash flooding, but it doesn't look like anything's too significant right now. Let's see here. I'll give you guys a quick preview here of what I'm dealing with. So this is a wide camera view of in the studio here. You can see all the background lighting behind me. Eventually, we're going to put some photos back there. It actually isn't as wide as I thought it was. Can I make this wider? No, I can't. So there's actually quite a bit going on in here. It's a relatively small room. I put, well, we've got some sound panels put up in here. We've got some carpeting over there and a big heavy curtain. So this is keeping the echo down quite a bit. This microphone leaves a lot to be desired, though. So that's going to get replaced with a boom microphone as soon as we're able to. But other than that, just a couple of lighting tweaks. But this has been a huge, huge upgrade for us here because this does allow me to produce content when I'm not storm chasing, which is really important because I can't chase every day, and it's extremely important for me to be able to have income and content to produce to get that income on days when I'm not expecting to storm chase because I still have to be able to fund the storm chasing, of course. And yeah, this is going to be much better. We don't have cats here to worry about. We don't have distractions or anything. This should work out really, really well. And I'm looking forward to it. We're going to redo the overlays a bit to make them look a little bit better. But for the most part, I think that we're definitely on the right track. Yeah, the folks out there in California are probably welcoming the rainfall. It's been just dry as can be out there. Something interesting, folks, is the Platte River has gone dry as well. The Platte River that runs through Nebraska because of the drought. It's not super rare. It happened for a couple of years straight, actually, in the early 2000s, and then happened back in 2012 for like a month or two. But I'm actually considering, if it's super slow and it looks like no storm chasing this week, I'm considering taking a drive out somewhere between Grand Island and North Platte and let's go look at the drought out there. Let's go look at the dryness because it's very interesting the fact that you could drive across the river right now. The Platte River is dry. It'd be kind of interesting to go out there. Mark, your power is out. Where are you located? I wonder if it's storm related. But I appreciate the support, folks. Like I said, this has been a huge upgrade. I just got the desk cleared off. We have upgraded the computer. We're running a Mac Studio. Probably going to trigger some people. I know we have a lot of Windows folks. I am an Apple person. You know, I've run every iPhone since the iPhone 5S. You know, it's just it makes sense for me. I can airdrop from my phone. It works really well. And this thing is burning through what we're doing here. It's running excellent. It's running these OBS here I'm using for the broadcast is M1 optimized now, so it doesn't have to use Rosetta. So it's burning through. We're only using 5% CPU usage right now. I'm running a 4K monitor, a 4K monitor, and a 1080p monitor. So three monitors on this thing. This thing's awesome. It's not even warm. Fan isn't even running. This thing is working excellent. So I'm super happy with the Mac Studio. Working excellent. I've actually got a vertical monitor off over here that has the chat on it and the stats, so I can see it. The display that actually gets screen captured is straight in front of me, and I've got a screen up here that monitors the weather warnings. There's that fly thing again. But this should make a big difference. The other night, like I said, we've been running with Windows just fine, but we needed an upgrade in here. So things should be working well. And as you can see, we've got the chat over here. Yeah, as well. We can actually change these colors of the lights based on the weather too. So there's an app on my phone and I can actually change them for any location in the country. They can be certain colors if it's raining, if it's sunny, or whatever. Jake says it's almost 70 degrees in northern Indiana. What is it here? Here in southern Wisconsin, it's 55 degrees. It's cold, in my opinion. David's in there as well. Yeah, the M1 for Max is awesome. I got a little bit of backlash on the last stream. Everybody was calling me crazy, but like I mean, here's the deal: if it works, it works. We're not gaming on here. Everything's pretty graphics intensive, but it runs like I edit in Final Cut, so I have to have a Mac for something, and it powers through everything we're doing. Like I said, monitor is a 1080 monitor. We're screen capturing one, uh, running all sorts of applications. I'm super happy. 80 degrees in North Carolina. Yeah, you haven't had that arrival of that fall cold front yet. Well, thank you, Kara. Yeah, I'm actually considering possibly another Windows PC for the graphics intensive stuff, but like I said, folks, I was actually expecting to return this computer. I didn't think it was going to handle this, so it is handling it, which is awesome. Thanks, Kay, for the compliments. Folks, we're going to wrap it up here in about 5-10 minutes. I'm just trying to answer some of the chat comments. Yeah, David, we looked at that tornado warning a little bit ago. It looks like it expired a little bit earlier than it was supposed to. But we're going to try to live stream, not necessarily every single day, but almost every day. So the problem with not having a studio in my house and having it remotely like this is I have to travel, a good half an hour to 40 minutes to get here. So if absolutely nothing is going on, like at all, and there's really no reason to live stream like we've been live streaming the past five, like let's say we've live streamed like 10 days in a row and there's nothing happening, I might not come into the studio and do it. I could still live stream from home with my laptop, but it's not going to work super well. But whatever, it is what it is. But like in the event of an urgent situation, we can still go live from home super easy or anywhere with the laptop. But from here, it'll work out really, really well having it this way. Of course, if I see severe weather, like if I see possible warnings being put out soon, we'll come here and we'll get ready for it. But for the most part, I would say that we're going to be live streaming at least 4 to 5 times per week when we're not storm chasing. When we're storm chasing, it's obviously going to be every single day. But if we have a stretch of like 10 to 14 days where there's nothing to chase, I would plan on at least 4 to 5 live streams a week. And we'll probably be planning them. I'll probably start live streaming about 5 p.m. and then end at like 8 or 9 p.m. and we'll just live stream. We'll mix some weather. We are a weather YouTube channel, so we'll put the weather in there. But we'll also look at maybe viewer submitted content and of course talk about different things as well. And of course, if there is active weather that I'm not chasing, we'll be live for that regardless of the time. Would I ever consider using a Windows 11 PC? I've never used Windows 11. I would consider it, but I'm convinced that for what we're doing, Mac is definitely the way to go. Hard to hear. Not quite sure why it's hard to hear for you. We should be okay, but like I said, I'm working on getting the boom mic here so we can lessen that distance from mouth to mic, and that'll help out quite a bit. And thank you, April, as well. Yeah, okay, we could send the drone. Yeah, we're not going to be able to do a whole lot with audio. I guess I got to get that boom mic. The problem is, there's really nowhere to get this stuff locally. It's all got to come from Amazon, and I hate that because I never know when I'm going to be home or when I'm going to be in the field. So it's a pain in the ass to be like, oh, you can get this in 3 days. Well, I don't know if I'm going to be home in 3 days. Best Buy's got a really nice boom, but it's $80, and you don't need to pay $80 for a boom. This mic is okay because if we go closer to our mouth, it's a lot better. But there's really no way to mount this to a boom. There's no quarter 20. It's not a standard mount. It's a knockoff mic. But you can get those Blue Yeti, the snowballs, the little snowball mics for $50, and those are excellent microphones. And you can put one of those on the end of a boom. Works great. But why would you spend $80 on just the boom? That's ridiculous. So I'm gonna try to find one on Amazon or find one to use, and that'll get it up here or just out of frame, and that'll make a big difference. Yeah, I've never actually used Windows 11. Does Omega have a smoke radar? I just want to look at a projection. I actually don't know what websites folks use to look at like smoke density. I don't really typically ever do that. Honestly, I've just never really had a reason to. But I mean, we could look at like visible satellite, um, but that's going to be real time. So like you would probably want a satellite viewer and then see if you could source smoke from a wildfire or such. Um, Cal Fire does. Yeah, they actually might. I know some of these state agencies do have things like that, but I typically don't get a whole lot into the fire weather because we just don't have time to cover it, honestly. So I'm not very familiar with fire weather. I mean, I've chased wildfires before. Some folks say that it's not fire chasing, but a lot of it's determined by the weather. So call it what you want, categorize it however you want. But the forecasting and such of it, I don't end up doing a whole lot of unless I specifically know that I'm going to go out there for a fire. Yeah, there are some fires. There's actually a lot of fires everywhere right now. Everything is just so dry, And we were looking at the temperatures here and the dew points a little bit earlier in the video. If you were here for it, if you weren't here for it, basically it's going to be pretty relatively dry and pretty hot over a lot of the Central Plains and even up into portions of Canada for the next like week or so. So really, there's not a whole lot of relief in sight. We could see some localized systems with moisture or some rain, which would really help and benefit everybody. But a lot of these areas just all over desperately need rain, and a cool down would be nice as well. But thanks, folks, for watching. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. But just remember, guys, we do have a Discord server. I see that's being mentioned as well. So yeah, you can go ahead and check out our Discord server. I will try to monitor that for a little bit, but I'm actually going to head back home here now. And like I said, just in case we have any severe weather to cover tomorrow, I don't think we will. I'm trying to stay away from uh, going too far east because, like I said, I'm holding on that we might get an isolated potential at a severe storm or two out in the Central Plains in the next few weeks. So I'm going to be experimenting with our live stream times. If we're not storm chasing tomorrow, I will be live tomorrow evening, but I'm going to be altering the times a little bit. So some days I may stream earlier, some days I may stream later. I'm trying to find that sweet spot where we get the most viewers because obviously, in order to fund storm chasing, we have to get as many viewers as possible. So I'm going to be trying to find that area where most people watch. Saturdays and Sundays statistically are very low view days for us. Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays are actually higher viewing counts, whatever we want to call them for us. So that's something we need to keep in mind too. So I will be streaming again tomorrow. But we may have to go east just because we've got to chase something in the month of September here. We don't have any tropical weather on the horizon for a while yet, and we've got to get out there because basically we got to pay the bills still. We've got streaming servers, we've got everything to cover yet. A lot of times I explain this basically. This is my job. If the wheels on that car are not moving, we are making $0, which is why we blew like a bunch of money on all this. But thank you for hey, thanks for the super chat. Always appreciate it. I see you're a YouTube member as well, so thanks for that. But yeah, we that's why we're doing this. So this allows us basically to live stream without really much of an expense. The rent on this place is super cheap. I'm not worried about it, but really happy to have this. Weekdays, you usually don't leave work until 6:30 p.m. or later. Yeah, and I've found that it looks like most of our audience is on YouTube between 5:30 p.m. Central Time and about 9 p.m. Central Time. So if we stream, let's say we start streaming from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, that would be a pretty good time, to live stream. But like I said, I would expect when we're not actively in the car to be live streaming at least 4 days a week, if not five. And then my days off will probably be Saturdays. But if there's severe weather and we're not out there in the field for it, we'll definitely be right here. And Christy upgraded to a tier 2 membership. All right, Christy, I'll get you added to the scroll at the bottom there as well. Rolling blackouts maybe in Reno. It's possible. I know that well, you're close to that area, but I know a lot of the areas in California basically had an energy crisis and kind of still do have an energy crisis where there were well, basically brownouts, rolling blackouts, a lot of power outages just because of the demand. It's so hot, everybody's running their air. So yeah, if you're near Reno, Nevada, and the power's out, it definitely could be. It could be just energy demand related as well. I haven't seen a power outage map recently or not. Let me hold on real quick. Let me see if I can. That's got me curious now. Let me see if I can get a power outage map. I'm just curious here. Let's see here. This is bringing up all my local stuff here. Let's see. Poweroutage.us. I guess that's a thing. I didn't know that. Okay. So this is a very boring map. Right now, the most customer states with the most customers without power are California, Oregon, Florida, Washington, and Wisconsin. You gotta be kidding me. But for the most part, everybody's here. Most of the folks are online in California, but everybody's blue, which is good. There, it looks like 3,969. So about 4,000 people are without power in Nevada. Oh, right there at Washoe County. Reno's in Washoe County, isn't it? Yes, it is. Excellent. Okay, so hey, I think we found you an answer. So, well, we didn't find you an answer, but we confirmed you're not alone. Let's see here. About 4,000 out of 65,000 people in Washoe County, which would be the Reno, Nevada area, are without power for whatever reason. Doesn't tell me why, just as the Valley Electric Association. Um, Most of the customers that are out are on the Nevada energy circuit. So would you look at that? Hey, we found an answer. That's always good. Kind of neat. Power of the internet is wonderful. All right, folks. So I'm going to go ahead and let that be it. Thank you again so much for joining me today. It's definitely exciting to be in here. Go ahead and check out our website, seethestorm.com. You can buy stuff like merchandise that all goes to support us. Shirts, phone cases. If you have recommendations of items you want to see on the store, let us know. We can literally add them in about 20 seconds. So if you got stuff that you think we should have on there, let us know. Um, we are going to be monitoring the Discord. Obviously, well, I'm going to be monitoring the Discord for a couple of minutes after this. So I'll, anybody has questions or whatever. But I have most of this done. We're going to decorate this with some photos, some canvas prints, I think, because they won't reflect the light. We'll have to see how well they do. But we're going to do a little bit of work on the backdrop. But for the most part, we now have a studio. We've actually got an entire another half of this room behind the camera, which we're going to be using when I produce those daily members only videos. So if you want to be a member, you can see the exclusive content that only members see that I post every day. So we can produce a little bit better videos there, better lighting, a big TV monitor, so we can actually put the radar and the weather on that. So have a good night, everybody. Take care, and I will see everybody back here tomorrow. Probably not storm chasing, but maybe. And regardless, we will be here doing some sort of a live stream. So have a good night, everyone. And again, thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Take care.